Families of the victims gunned down in Ndwedwe, KwaZulu-Natal are demanding that the police work fast to arrest their killers. Their loved ones are among 11 people killed in separate incidents over the last weekend. In one, several suspects opened fire outside a tuckshop in Ndwedwe. In the second, 6 people were killed at an informal settlement in Clermont. We're joined by KZN Police Commissioner Mr. Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Commissioner, thank you for joining us this evening. And just based on the engagements that you've had over the last couple of days since this horrific incident that I've just described in my intro, what do you understand to be the details or the circumstances that led to the deaths of these 11 people?
Good evening, ma'am, and to your viewers at home. It's difficult for us to say for now as a South African Police Service, but of the 2 incidents, we know that in one incident at Ndwedwe, the group of those that were killed in one house, they suspected to have been involved in drugs. The youngsters that seems to be used by the drug peddlers to sell their drugs, and they were found in the same house. That is the information that we've collected thus far. But in as far as the Ndwedwe issue, we're not quite sure exactly what transpired there. Although one of the deceased has been one of the suspects that stayed witness for us in a case that we're investigating. So we do not know whether the target was that person, but the information we got is that they were sitting at the tuck shop and someone just came randomly and started shooting at everyone. So the 2 cases, we have a task team at the province that is investigating them. And we hope that we could be able to get a breakthrough, obviously with the help of the community.
We have been speaking to community members throughout the days after the incident, and they have lamented that there is a lack of visible policing or even active police stations in which they can seek assistance whenever they need to. Your thoughts on the level of protection in terms of police protection in these communities, and do you think that more could be done?
Yeah, of course, ma'am, there's a lot that we could do as a South African Police Service, given the resources that is so much desperately needed in policing, which are currently a challenge. But we are doing a level best to make sure that we can cover as much as we can in all the policing areas that we have. The first incident that happened at Ndwedwe in Clermont area, it's an informal settlement. Even if we have police that are patrolling in the vicinity, but to get into the area where the incident happens in formal settlements, we always talk about this all the time, that until environmental design is looked after, it makes it difficult for police to access such places. The Ndwedwe incident is in the rural area. We know the challenges we face with the rural areas, that it's vast areas that are far from each other. The houses are far from each other, they're not clustered together. So even if we deploy resources to patrol, they're not able to cover the area easy. That's why we rely on working very close with our communities in order to help us to fight crime. And we rely on communities to be eyes and ears to alert us of any incidents or any suspicious thing happening in their localities, so that we're able to proactively deploy and intercept and prevent crime from them.
Commissioner, I understand you are saying that there are geographical limitations to the police conducting patrols and of course community policing forums are absolutely important in carrying out your jobs, but saying that the geographical locations or the township or the rural area is making it difficult cannot be a sustainable excuse. And I say that because I'm wondering, are you not looking at other forms of patrol? There's drone technology, helicopters, those kinds of initiatives. Is this not something the SAPS is discussing as a means to not just rely on road infrastructure?
Yeah, no, certainly. We have our technology advisory committee in the South African Police Service. We started procuring drones, and we are also employing from the private sector partners that we're working with. We started employing drones in order to help us with policing so that we can be able to cover areas. But having said that, we cannot necessarily be able to detect some of the incidents that are happening in areas and respond with speed. a typical example, as I'm saying, informal settlement, people sitting inside their house and they get shot at. So you can respond into it, but to prevent it from happening without intelligence, without information, it becomes a bit of a challenge. So we're working very hard in strengthening all our capacity within the law enforcement, both intelligence collection, recruitment of informals, working with communities, as well as applying technology, cameras, drones, and so forth. It's all the aids that we need in order to fight crime.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Does it not also just bring about the conversation and concerns around guns and illegal guns that are circulating within the different provinces? In KZN in particular, there has been quite the discussion around the circulation of illegal guns. What is your department doing actively to change that situation and also address the notion that indeed some police officers have been implicated in selling official firearms to criminal syndicates?
Ma'am, there are many strategies we're employing. In KZN specifically, there are two areas that has been giving us a problem with gangs. One is in Newcastle, under Machuba district, in the township there. We've had quite a number of interventions in order to try and deal with that situation. It's youngsters, school children that tend to fight amongst each other. They don't necessarily using firearms per se, but they're using knives in order to attack each other. So we've had quite a lot of successes in this regard in trying to quell that situation. And in Devon, there are a few townships in Devon that has been giving us a bit of a challenge. And we have been able to arrest quite a number of criminals, a number of gang members most recently, and be able to recover firearms that they would have been used in committing this type of crimes. But what we see happening and what drives most of these multiple murders in the province, especially in the district of eThekwini, is a number of drugs that seems to be involved. And when we analyze and we pick up that the challenges is how they come into the country, and we are the port of entry most of the time. A number of containers coming in the harbor that are getting into our province through this district of eThekwini. And that's why we see a lot of these fights. And every time we investigate, we pick up that it seems to be fights that are related to drugs and those that are fighting over the territories. Unfortunately, it has moved from the traditional townships that we normally know where these incidents of gangs been happening into the black townships, if I can use that word. And mainly it was mostly in Kara townships, but it's now moved into the black townships. But it's sporadic. It's not gangs as you typically find in Cape Town, where they fight and shoot at each other on the street that affects young children. Not here. They almost attack each other behind closed doors. So they come where the group is, they shoot, one or two people come in and shoot, and they disappear. And they are using different modes of transport. They're using these Uber vehicles that we see driving around a lot. And some of them, they're walking on foot for them to get away with ease. And always an attacker will be one or two people. It won't be many people. And they will be moving, maybe staying far away, 10, 20 kilometers away from where they are attacking. And then they disappear after that. So, but we've recruited quite a number of informers that has been helping us. That's why we've been successful in arresting and recovering a lot of firearms of late that help us at least to try and close these cases. But we're seeing a lot of these incidents happening. It talks to the social challenges that we have in our society. A lot of these youngsters, they are not engaged. They finish school and come back in the afternoon, or when they finish matric, they don't get to universities. They are not engaged. They're just hanging around, and they become easily recruited by criminals so that they get involved in crime. And the rate of unemployment also makes the situation worse. I think the social issues that we are engaging with our counterparts in order to try and come up with preventative measures, because for crime to be prevented, it needs a whole society.
Thank you very much for those insights, Commissioner. That is Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who joins us from KZN to speak about those shootings at the weekend and what the police service is doing, not only to deal with the subsequent consequences of that, but to try and ensure that incidents of this nature are prevented.